So, does anyone recall any of my suggestions for this week's session? Because I don't know what we're doing, but we can figure it out together and work on whatever we want.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't recall. I'm kind of excited about world VARs and figuring out what to do with that, but that might be another, like, more of a conversation, and then,
Well,
I don't know what a simple execution would be.
I don't know. We'll figure it out if that's what you guys want to look at.
I'd love to look at world VARs. I think that would be really awesome.
Okay. All right then. All right then. Let's do it.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's just the same as pretty much any other PPV. But finding a cool use case would be great. Like, I don't know, we have to think of a
Oh,
game or something.
I mean, I plan on doing really heavy faction-based stuff in my games. So there will be like different gangs that you can join, and then collectively, the gangs would earn points that would allow for like level ups for like a building, or if the gang gets so many points or plays, then their home base might get upgraded, if that makes sense. That was one of the things I was thinking. Or we could literally have like some sort of Animal Crossing type experience where you have a little room or a little house, and you could put stuff in your house, and in theory you could put it in the world bars, right? And people could just like, only you can edit those items in your house, but other people could like walk around and look at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could think of a million things.
You could totally grow a plant over time. That's pretty interesting, actually.
Players
So-
could work together towards a collective goal over time as well. Just in general.
We were trying to get something to move in another world, but you can make like a tree grow, and you can water the tree. So one person in one world, one session waters it, the other person in another session waters it, and it grows accordingly.
How does that work across sessions? Does it just when you refresh? Does it, like, how often does it get updated?
I think it's just a number, and I don't know how fast it refreshes.
I was just gonna say that if we get to a point where we've like gotten pretty ahead of this code, maybe we should try and play test that a little bit, see if we can tell how quickly it updates and if it updates across.
I think we're going to be able to achieve that tonight. I think we'll get there. So, real quick, iPersistent Storage World is the interface that we'll be working with. There are 4 methods here. We have a fetch world variables. It just wants a key as a string. It returns a promise. We'll have to see. Fetch world variables. I would expect it to return the data, right? Is that what that T is for? Returns. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Get world counter also wants a key. Does return a number. So this would be like your number PPV. Get world variable. Oh, this is get world counter, and then get world variable, which would be like a JSON file as opposed to just a number. And then there's an increment world counter. That's interesting. Is this number that we're incrementing it by, is it always going up? Is it absolute?
Yeah, it is.
It is absolute?
I yeah, and I think the amount is you could just do by one, but I don't know.
So you could potentially get world counter and then plus one to increment world counter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or well, we should. Yeah, that one I'm not sure about. The amount is that just the single increment by one? So you just
Does that mean you can't de-increment then? Do you have to put a negative one? We'll have to
I'm
play with
wondering
it.
is that I don't see I don't see. Well, I guess there's a set down below, but the counter only goes up. I think.
We'll have to play with it and see what happens. And then there's also the set world variable across all instances async. That's a really long method name. Look at that. Look at that bad boy. And then key and the value, which will be probably JSON, right? A JSON object. Okay. Well, let's start with. Kind of want to start with this one because we got to get counter, get variable, increment counter, set variable. But then there's this. If this is get counter and this is wait. Oh, get so if this is get counter and this is get world variable, what the hell is this?
you, that's such a good question. I don't know.
All right. All right, let's play around with it here. So we're going to go under our variable groups. I'm just going to add, I think I have to do a testing, just like a test 2 or whatever. I think I already have a test. Add it to this world, okay. And now let's create us 2 new variables. So we need to hit this drop down and change this from player persistent to world persistent variable. And now we can name it, give it an initial value if it's a number, but if it's a JSON object, looks like I can still give it a value. Oops. I clicked away. So let's set, let's just call this num. And then we'll get to the JSON object. So we'll just call this obj. Oops. Okay. Obj again as an object. And then no value currently. We'll leave it blank. Okay. So now we've got our 2 variables. Let's I guess we'll set up a trigger and we'll set up a counter, and then we could publish, and you guys can open up multiple instances, and we can put this thing to the test pretty quickly, right? So let me go ahead and drop in. Oh, we can't drop all the gizmos. I try to drag gizmos into the world. What a noob. And we'll just drop a text object. I need that turned 180 degrees. And let's just put that initial value of 0 in it, because that was the initial value that we assigned to our object anyway. Oh, speaking of which, I'm curious real quick, what happens if I come in here and I debug my values? Change the values for your avatar only to test how they function in scripts. Only you will be affected by the values. So I have the option to clear, but I don't have an option to like see what the current values are, but it looks like if I edit, I can see what the current values are. So that's cool. Oops. Okay.
Oh, maybe. We should see if that updates.
Sure. Yeah. Spoken like a true tester, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Let's just call this WPV. WPVs. Let's open this up. All right, so we're going to throw together a listener for player entering trigger, and we always do our listeners in pre-start when we can. So this dot connect code block event, this dot entity is the target, hz code block events dot on player enter trigger is the event, and I don't know that we care about who the player is, but whatever, there they are. And then we'll put our things in here. And so player enters trigger, we're just going to, we actually want to do some testing and see what happens, see what that number variable actually does. You know what, let's throw in a prop definition called, I'm just going to call it, let's go call it value, and that is type hz props type dot number, buddy. And then, I mean, default. So on some of these prop types, you can define a default value. So we can make this one 0. So we'll say upon entering trigger, we're going to, I don't know if it's going to be world or this world. Probably this world. Dot, yep, down here, persistent storage world dot. We did want to know what that does. All right. Actually, let's look at this for a second. What is this going to return back? And why is it satisfied?
Do you need a listener for the async response?
I don't know, do I?
Because it returns a promise, right?
Yeah. I could do then, right?
Oh, right. To catch it.
Let's see what happens. Let's just do a console log. Let's just see what happens. Okay. Did they fix my boots?
What? Why are you transparent?
Because my boots are broken.
The
Yeah.
things we say, I don't know.
I discovered that my avatar wasn't loading because of my boots. If I change my boots, he'll load again. Anyway, let's see what we get in the console.
Nah.
Okay, first thing we're going to do is just leave this instance because we just created those variables.
Right. Good idea.
You learned that one through experience, folks.
I feel like you shouldn't have to leave the world to
Oh, for sure.
use your newly created variable.
We leave the world so much. Okay, we'll try again there. I'm no longer a ghost. I'm a real person. All right, still. Oh wait. We're all
The
idiots.
trigger's not hooked up.
Cause no one.
Yep.
No one attacked. I'm sure the other one was still an issue, but.
I've done that so many times.
For sure. All right, so. Num only returned an object. And I'm not entirely sure that I'm using the promise correctly. Uh, if you've got another way that I should set this up.
What did it do in the example there?
What example?
On the API examples, snippets.
I don't recall. Yeah, they don't really show you anything here.
Yeah, so you have to know how to deal with the promise. No.
I was thinking, okay, just as a sanity check, I'm going to go to spawning. Because I'm pretty sure spawning returns a promise, and I'd use it the exact same way. Spawn asset returns a promise of an array of entities, and I do the exact same thing when I'm spawning. I always use then. And so I know this is okay. But this is persistent serializable state. It's asynchronous. You need to pass a resolve function that gets called when the promise resolves. So, I mean, I don't like this. Yeah, and I would think so, and that's what I'm doing. So the question is, well, I did name it num, all lowercase, right? Let's check my spelling. Right, so that's correct. Oh, wait a second. I think I need to define it like this. Let's try again like this. It's interesting that it didn't throw an error for that.
Right.
Silly mistakes. We'll get them out of the way.
Another good bug.
Are you taking notes?
Not exactly. Yeah.
What? Turn sideways. Okay. Boom. Okay. This is what I expect to see. A 0. Cool. Cool. Does that mean that this method will return Does that mean this method will return whatever the value is, whether it's a number or an object? It's just generic? It's interesting why it exists when we have the get. We have individual gets as well for the different types. Sometimes it'd be nice to get some feedback on like what the engineers were thinking, like what the approach was. Well, so far, I don't know how much you've looked into the API null, but the question currently is, we're using this fetch world variable async, but we also have get world counter and get world variable. Is it just the fact that they're not asynchronous? Is that the only difference? Because here, if you want to get a number, you have to use the get world counter. If you want to use a JSON object, you have to get world variable. But apparently, if you want to do it asynchronously, you can just get either one.
So why is there an asynchronous method? Why do you need asynchronous sometimes?
I wonder if it has something to do with like multiple instances. You can increment asynchronous and set asynchronous, but you can get what about these?
Maybe the asynchronous is for the other session, and
All sessions
so
should have the same values. There shouldn't have individual values per session.
right.
Questions? All right, we'll keep moving. All right, so we won't test the JSON because I haven't really saved any values to the JSON yet. We're going to assume it works at the moment. So let's go to increment this value now. So instead of doing the fetch, well, let's actually just test the get world counter, right? There's no promise though, so we need to comment this out. But I guess we could say console log. Let me help you. So console log just getting that world counter. Like this should work too. We should get the same value. It'll just return a 0. It won't return num 0 this time, but okay. That's what I expect. That's what I expect. Okay. Maybe they'll come out with some documentations in the next patch note. That seems to be the trend lately anyway. Okay, so let's start incrementing this number. This dot world dot persistent storage world dot set. Actually, it's not set, it's increment world counter. Now, we won't be able to answer our original question just yet until we have a value. So currently we can just set this to 1. And wonder if I should. I want to display the value, but I wonder if I should wait. I wonder if I should like wait a few seconds. I mean, we can try without it and see if it's a problem. So let's say I need to create a node props up here for the text. It's not string, it's entity. And we'll say, so const text, this, yeah, and so if text, okay. Not quite. There you go. Oh wait, this ain't what I want to do at all. And we'll just say text dot as hz text gizmo dot text dot set, and now, oh well, actually this number should be this dot props dot value, so we can change it on the fly. And then we'll set, so we'll get it like immediately after, right? We could have just literally printed it to the console as well, I guess, but whatever. ToString. I don't think we need all of that. Oh, maybe we do. Wow, what's it actually return? A number. Okay. So we do need ToString. Alright, so we're going to set it and then try to immediately display it all within the same frame. This might fail. Then again, it may not. But the value, we do need to, oh, we can set the text. So let's grab the text. Oh, I drag it off screen and it disappears when you do that. And then we're just going to set this value to a 1. Okay. It's kind of what I thought. Happened too fast, potentially, unless I've made some silly mistake I haven't recognized yet. Yeah, so it's happening too fast. It can't do it in the same frame. This does return a promise, though, and it's that number that I should be using that promise instead, because then it'll wait till the value's set. So let's set that up. Let's do dot then. I think can do value, then equal. Okay. So then we can do our const text, this dot props dot text. You're really flopping today. I really just want value. Dot ToString. Sure. That I mean, because of the promise, it's now going to wait for it to complete, and then we can get that value. So this should work immediately. But before we actually test, let's go back to an earlier question we had under variable groups. And so let's check the value right here. So it is a 2, and that's what I would expect it to see. I entered the trigger twice. We only saw a 1 on the number gizmo or the text gizmo because it just wasn't updating fast enough to display the true value. It was displaying the old original value. So we'll set this, actually, what do we want to do? What did I just write? Oh, it don't matter. We're just going to increment this by 1 again. It's already a 2. So we should technically see a 3 now. The first time we touch the trigger. Why are you standing sideways? Boom. That's exactly what I expect to see. Okay. Now, the question for me is, if I make this, we're incrementing it by, so this already answers our question because the value we're sending is an increment. And so it's obviously not absolute, or it would be 1 over and over, right? So if I wanted to increment this by 2, I would expect to see a 5 now when I enter this trigger. And that's what we get. But if I wanted to de-increment, I suspect I'm going to have to use negative numbers. So let's see if it'll accept.
Nice.
Oh, I must have hit it twice.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, I must be hitting it with my body and my hand or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we're going into negatives. Okay, well that answers that. It's not absolute. Oh, that's interesting. Why is there an exclamation point here?
That's funny. That's another one for the record books.
Very cool. Okay. Well, let's go ahead. Let's just I'm gonna default this back out to 0. And let's make sure it worked, right? Yeah, so -1. What? Why is that? Does the world have to end to save it? I don't know that that matters, but that's interesting. The value didn't show up until I ended the world. Okay. I was just thinking to myself, if there was another instance of this world, you guys leaning back. If there's another instance of this world, I enter the trigger, I increment it at a +1. I'm going to see a 1 here. Someone else enters the trigger, but they're going to still see a 0. There would have to be, I would have to set up some type of interval to make sure the other instances are getting the update.
Probably not an update.
I don't think even an interval is a good idea. I think you should only check it when you go to use it. You shouldn't try to display it. Because you can't set, like, you want the increment to be really fast. You want it to be as real time as possible. But then that's not reasonable for querying, for doing this network call, for querying the persistent server, the persistent storage. So I'm going to venture to say that you probably shouldn't be trying to increment real time or display real time data. You should only only when you're going to set it or when you need it should you be checking.
So say that number represented the height of a tree. We would want the tree to at least check like every couple of seconds what its current value is.
And I guess if that's the main mechanic of the game, and that's the only thing you're doing, as far as like an interval check on the persistent storage, maybe that's okay. Um, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna publish this.
What would happen if we tried it on update? I mean, I don't, I don't know. We could see how fast it can do it or something. I don't know. I mean, legitimately, do it. I would say like do it once a second. Depends on the game. I don't think this is gonna end well, dude. I don't know. I mean, I do. I don't know. Is there any problem with the server? Like, the server's not gonna ignore you or anything, is it?
Oh, you mean like hitting a rate limit and getting banned for 48 hours?
I don't know. I have no idea.
About to find out. Okay. So now, when I enter the trigger, we're not doing any type of then. We're not doing any. We're not reading the promise. We're just going to set the value, leave it at that. But our on update will be rapidly getting world counter.
Should. How can we test it with I guess we'd have to publish it or something, and then.
Yeah, for sure. But before we even go that far, let me just. Okay, do you see that?
Yeah.
As soon as I run the world, it's immediately getting that value. So let's touch it a few times. Now it's a 0. Now it's a 1, 2, 3. So he's not mad about nothing yet.
Yeah.
It's still continuing to work and respond, right?
Right.
How wrong is this?
I don't know.
So
I mean, it could affect performance on other stuff in the world, of course.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess we could run a trace and maybe see just what those calls, like how much time those calls are taking up. Um, but let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and publish this. You talking about through Discord? You can barely hear me through Discord? This is interesting. Heads up, not enough changes. Take some time to customize your world. Unique worlds can help drive higher engagement. I guess they're like looking at the number of items in my hierarchy or something. Oh, welcome, Gus. I didn't see you sneak in here. Publish. How many times I gotta tell you? Twice, apparently. Okay, I'm going to get a link. There's a link in chat. I don't know though. I'd like to be able to launch individual instances, but I don't know how to. I don't know how to do it from web. You guys are all going to probably end up being in the same instance.
You have to launch it while you're in the world, or you don't have to be in the world. You just have to have been already in the world.
You talking about I've got to pull up the menu and do it from there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll do that. You guys, or you guys can do whatever you want, but I will launch an open instance.
Oh, people have already been touching it. Okay.
Oh, I didn't touch it.
It's at 20. What do you mean? Who's been touching it?
But you guys were touching it in edit mode, so I wonder if it increased in edit mode, but it didn't persist in edit mode, if that makes sense. Hold on a second.
If I run edit mode right now, yeah, I get a 20 here too, which is what I would expect. I'm going to, since you guys are here, I'm going to go ahead and pop over. I'm going to launch an open session. Hey, music. That's new.
Mine says 20 here.
Okay, I still have a 20 in my instance.
Is there a trigger right there?
There is, right underneath.
It did not update on mine.
Oh, I don't see it either. Yeah.
Now, if I enter the trigger, what happens?
Let's see. Tell me what you see.
Oh, I see it. Now I see
25.
it.
So it went up, but it didn't show for me. But the value is going up.
Yeah, but it's just
But
not. It's not
The
refreshing.
code that triggering the text update isn't running because I'm not entering the trigger. But the value did update because it went from 20 to 25.
Well,
Now, if I click over again, it go 32 now. Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to be updating on update, which could be too rapid, but we wanted to test. So now let's take that. Let's dial that back. Let's put it on an interval and make it update every 1 second. So if you guys want to just drop that instance, make sure they all get shut down. I'm going to what am I going to do? I guess here in the start, we'll do this dot async dot set interval at 1,000 milliseconds, and then I'll just take this code from here and put it in here. Okay, so now we're just going to update it. So let's see, and it may have just like basically failed to update. Wait, but why would it? Why would it update because you touched the trigger though?
Let's see.
You're
So-
calling the increment world counter.
You have
Yeah, I'm calling it, but I'm not reading the value. So that means this code was executing when you touched, like when the value updated on your side. So the code was working. It just, why would it? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
the persistent variable only updates when you set or get. Well, you're not, because we're getting it here. Persistent stores get, so we're getting the world counter, that actually what it's called? World counter?
Get world counter and get world variable are the two methods. There's also a get world variable async, which will get both of them. I don't,
Okay.
whatever.
So we were getting it, but it wasn't actually. That's weird. Why would it not?
Okay, so I got two theories I want to try right now. First, we're going to try to slow down the checks to see if that has any effect. If it doesn't, we're going to change get world variable to that fetch world variable async and see if that has makes any difference.
Right.
Shit, my webcam's up. You all watch me eat.
I don't actually see it.
Oh, you're down.
So I'm just going to confirm that it does work locally just before we publish here. So why is that still a 20?
You haven't gone through the trigger yet?
It's technically a 32. Why would it? Okay, now it's what the?
It's probably because the last time it was set, it cached the value somewhere.
That's so bizarre.
So it's maintaining 20 because it's a cache value. But if you were to go into it, it'll update and it'll go up to 33. And then if you were to do the same thing, it'll stay at 33 because it was less than it was cached. So like the world has like cache or something, like a server cache.
It's like when I increment it, it caches the value. And then when I request it, it just keeps getting the cached value. It don't get the real value.
Right.
That's why it was behaving the way it was.
You're incrementing an async. Try changing it to the fetch async, and I bet that'll work.
Right.
Well, we
Get
can.
world counter to me, with the way it's acting, is like get the current value of it. But the async function is probably like an await function where it will get, but it awaits the return and then continues processing. Whereas the get doesn't do that; it just gets whatever's cached.
Yeah. So to test this theory, I should see a 32 when I hit play this time.
I hope so. Because if it doesn't, I don't know. There you go. You promise. Well, that makes sense because the return function, it should return a value because it's promised. So you might have to set, like, do a const, and then set that to like, you don't have to, like, there you go, do that. And then try just num. You don't have, well, you might have to do two-string, but just see what happens. Or also do a console.log just to see what happens with just the num, and then do a num two-string and your text is num.
Oh wait, what if we? Okay, hang on. What if we used the promise?
Yeah, right.
Okay, now.
There you go.
And now we can say text dot as hc text gizmo dot oops, what the hell?
Autocomplete doesn't know what's going on.
Num.
Yeah, since num is a number, you're gonna have to do two-string. But I would also just print it to the log, just in case,
You know,
just to see what happens.
just fuck that. I'm not trying to satisfy the stupid string at the moment. It's not what I care about. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? So that means that's what we should have done all along if we wanted it to update in real time while it was published.
Yeah. So you need async for real time, and then
Now, so you know what that means?
like,
That's why there was no problem with doing it on update because it was just checking the cache. But I bet there might be a problem doing it on update with the async, right? That's pretty cool. You think it's worth? You think it's worth testing? I think it's probably. I think we already know what the behavior is going to be.
you know, we're getting the value right there. Try just go into the trigger man, see what happens. I just want to see it go up in because I thought it should have been 33, 32. 30,
Yeah.
I never did touch the trigger.
There you go.
Yeah, I never did touch it. Okay. Well, okay, so that does answer our questions regarding why this is here and why this is here. So it's going to be good to note that this gets cached, or this gets the last cached value. This gets real-time value. And I'm assuming it's going to be the same thing with get world variable as opposed, oh, well, yeah, that's just setting it, but same as incrementing it. And then JSONs, they're going to behave the same way as the numbers do, I'm sure. I don't know if there's any reason to dive into them. They're going to spend more time setting up a freaking JSON object than you're going to be learning anything about the world persistent variable.
Right.
Well, I mean that's our hour, and I think we answered everything we wanted to answer about this. At least I'm satisfied.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Thanks for exploring it.
Yeah, thanks for exploring it with me.
Make a bunch of things with this.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see what people do with it, because people are going to get creative with it, you know, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I was saying in today's workshop, it's like just give them the freedoms, give the creators the freedoms, and we'll make it complicated. We'll do the work. Are there any questions? What's null value been, Sam? I think they just call it async to let people know that the PPV may not be incremented even if you fired it off before.
Well, without actually being able, go open up that function in the library, like jump to definition or whatever it is they call it on code.
Which one? This one?
The get world, or either of them. They're all gonna be right next to each other. So just right click on that and jump to definition. Just want to see.
Whoa. Oh, okay. That's for the next.
Yeah.
I thought there was hidden documentation in here. Yeah, not much more showing here than shows in the API references.
Here he is. They call it async, but it's just a promise. But the other one still returns a number. Like I wish I could actually see like the code that function is. But
Well,
When you click on the method and press F12, does it jump to it?
you talking about what here?
Like one of those, yeah. Just press F12.
I think this is the
Go
definition.
definition.
Oh, what the heck? Why did it bring you back here?
yeah, I brought it back.
Oh.
Oh, I would like to see the back end of that. Like, it's the same thing with Unity. Unity does it all the time, where it'll have a function like random.range, and it'll tell you how to use it, but it doesn't actually tell you how it works. You have to, you figure it out for yourself. But, I mean, newer Unity documentation actually breaks it down for you.
I'm going to write up what we found. The fact that these get cached data and these return.
You could await that, like await get world counter and see if it updates. But it would, because it returns a number. But I don't know if it's not an async function, then you can't await it, or awaiting it does nothing.
Yeah. Good work, guys.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Cool. So since it is 10 o'clock on the dot, I'm going to go ahead and shut down the YouTube stream. I don't think anyone's hanging out there at the moment. They left a little earlier. But if you are there and it's just not counting you, appreciate you for hanging out. We'll see you guys next time. Don't know what we'll do. Stay tuned. I'll either announce it